Christmas by AudioCoffee from the Free Music Archive. Oh, that bodes well for this evening, doesn't it? So, how is everybody? Very Merry Christmas to you. Welcome to the MKR Christmas special. We have some... hello, Aaveena. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us. My erstwhile hype person. So yeah, we have some real treats this evening. Oh, I've just closed one of them. That's not very helpful. So we have been blessed with 2 lots of original work this fine evening. So we will be having some of the beginning of Something Wonderful by Shel McCabe, and we'll be having some of the Christmas Day chapter of Home is Where the Heart Lies by Annabelle David. We also have some gorgeous fic to enjoy this evening. So we have some of the adventures of Snow White and Kylo Ren. We have Jolly AF, and we have Not Solo for the Holidays. So I am absolutely over the moon to be able to read so many beautiful things for you. I have had some notes over our last little break, so hopefully you'll have a much improved listening experience. So I'm going to start us off with one that is sweet and light. That is Jolly AF by Infinite Galaxies. 2 of yours, Shell, yes. I couldn't resist the opportunity to have an original work and to have some of Snow White and Kylo Ren. I do like that counter scene. It's very nice. So yeah. We're having some big treats, but we're gonna start off today with Jolly AF by Infinite Galaxies. So let me get you the link, and then we will do additional tags: alternate setting, modern setting, office AU, crack treated seriously, holiday party, Christmas party, Santa Ben, Santa costume, bad Christmas puns, Santa roleplay, software engineer A, Ben's solo needs a hug, anger management courses have been suggested, alcohol, co-workers to lovers, sex under the influence, drinking, everyone in this office fucks, office sex, public sex, exhibitionism, clothes sex, thigh riding, leg humping, dub con, reverse cowboy, chair sex, dirty talk, inappropriate use of jock jams, unprotected sex, cream pie meddling, friends background, storm pilot background, ginger rose background, layer holdo, plot what plot, pawn what without plot, smut and fluff, no plot, just vibes, happily ever after, Christmas sput, Christmas fluff. I enjoyed reading those tags far too much. After his latest office tantrum, Ben dons a Santa costume to appease his beleaguered mom/boss. He learns to believe in the magic of Christmas. However, when his plucky co-worker Ray sits on his lap. After his most recent office tantrum, which also happened to be the same day as the company holiday party, Ben found himself being wrestled into an ill-fitting Santa suit by his tiny, fiery mother. Benji, I can't keep making excuses for you. First, you're going to make it up to me for ruining my favorite monster plant. Then, you're going to go to anger management. Mom, I'm sorry, but I am the least jolly motherfucker in New York City. Do you really want me pretending to be Santa? It's just for ambience, Benj, she admonished him, as if he had a clue as to what that was supposed to mean. Your Uncle Luke has a stomach bug, and he can't do it this year. I just need you to watch the Toys for Tots donation box so Cloud doesn't puke in it again. She huffed, adjusting the fur collar and securing the Velcro around his neck. And I also need you to not throw a fit or yell at anyone. She roughly tugged the hat with the attached beard over his head, obscuring his eyes. You got that? He sighed, blowing a defeated breath through the synthetic white hairs covering his face. Got it. Maybe it was for the best. Everyone in the office probably hated him now. And this way he wouldn't have to fake small talk. Everyone liked Santa, though. Maybe he could pretend to be someone people actually wanted to talk to for the night. Or maybe everyone would just leave him alone to stew. It wasn't his fault that every time he had a good idea, Kennedy took it and presented it as his own. It wasn't his fault that Snoke Technologies beat them out of that stupid RFP. He tried to tell everyone it was a long shot before they allocated half the team's bandwidth toward it for 6 months. Snoke had even offered him a job. But he didn't take it out of loyalty to his mom's business. But no one could know. No one would ever appreciate him for it. He was just tired of being ignored unless he was throwing a stapler across the office, narrowly missing Snap's head, or breaking the office printer because what the fuck does TPS load letter even mean? Alcohol was a bad idea. He contemplated at the makeshift bar near the copy machine, but he had one drink just to take the edge off and make Cadle's warning about the poor variety of K-cups in the kitchen a tad more bearable. He took his station at the faux leather waiting room chair with a DIY crafted cardboard throne someone had taped to the back. It was wide and comfy at least. Taking note of the full donation box being blissfully puke-free, he assumed his post for the evening and took a sip of warm, off-brand bourbon. Across the room, a small coterie of software engineers were doing shots and laughing their heads off. As a key account manager, he didn't have to interact with them much, and couldn't help feeling jealous of their camaraderie. Likely earned the hard way through late-night coding marathons, measured in empty Red Bull cans. The loudest laugh of all came from Reylo. She was newish, but already garnered a reputation for the most elegant code. She was wearing an ugly sweater-like ensemble, a tank top with an obnoxious gold ribbon that made her look like a present, and a voluminous, sparkly red, green and white tulle skirt. Adding to the overall cuteness was a pair of high-top red Chuck Taylors on her feet. He wanted to kiss her. She probably only knew him as the tantrum o'clock guy, the CEO's wayward son, or the guy who obnoxiously labelled his lunch, "Eat this and I'll poison the next one." His chances were nil, so he simply sipped his bitter spirit and observed her from across the room, wondering what it would take to make her laugh and smile until her nose scrunched like that. Finstorm whispered in her ear and she giggled, her eyes darting to Ben and making him realise he had been caught staring. His heart started pounding and he averted his eyes, wondering if Claude was just about done at the carving station and if he could bribe him to lay off the hooch for the rest of the night. Unable to resist, he looked back at the tight-knit group to see Ray slap Poe Dameron on the chest as he waggled his eyebrows at her suggestively. Rose Tycho made aggressive hand gestures and stomped her kitten heels on the standard office issue carpet. Ray shook her head, and he gained a sudden interest in his red party cup as he realised she was walking directly toward him. "Hey, Santa," she greeted him a little too loudly.
Hi,"
he choked out, feeling ridiculous in his baggy get-up, the pants so short his socks and cuffs of his work all pants were visible. Suddenly he felt very hot, with the hat and beard combo and the cotton-stuffed belly of the costume weighing him down. She rocked back and forth on her heels. "Aren't you going to ask me what I want for Christmas?"
"Oh," he chuckled. "Sure. What do you want for Christmas?"
He held in the little girl that suddenly felt extremely inappropriate to say out loud. She took a step forward, gathering her giant skirt, and plopped down in his lap, nearly making him drop his drink.
"Oh shit," he spit out. "We're really doing this, huh?"
She giggled, giving him a slap on his bicep. Her eyes immediately drawn to it when she realised how hard it was. Maybe he was flexing too. Just a little. He couldn't help it. "Yeah, I think we are. I also think my friends didn't really have to twist my arm to get me to come over here and make you super uncomfortable." She laughed. He perked up as her expressed interest, relieved it wasn't some kind of dare just for shits and giggles. Go tease the office asshole so we can all laugh at him. Maybe he'll toss a chair through a window.
"So,"
He started, not sure if the door was open for flirting or if she was just being nice to him because she felt bad.
What do you want for Christmas?
Ray. She cut him off. My name is Ray.
Ray, tell Santa then.
She smiled, seeming impressed that he was playing along. Seemed like the kind of girl who could convince him to rob a bank with her. Jingle Bell Rock started blaring over one speaker set up in the corner of the room. Oh, I love this song. She bounced happily, wrapping one arm around his neck, taking a final sip of her drink before tossing her empty cup on the floor next to him. He couldn't see it, but he could feel her soft, round ass starting to grind against his dick. It was only a matter of time before he shifted her forward and she lost her balance a little, looping her leg over his knee so she was now straddling his thigh. Both hands now braced on his knee. She resumed bouncing and grinding as if undisturbed, her bottom nudging his dick. He could feel her warm heat as if there was nothing between the 2 layers of pants and her. When she started rolling her hips in earnest, it hit him with a startling realization what she was actually doing. He leaned forward and whispered in her ear as she continued grinding her pussy on his thigh.
You're a very bad girl, aren't you?
She gazed back at him over her shoulder with hooded eyes. Yes, Santa, I am. You gonna put me on the naughty list?
I think I should,
he breathed, draining his own cup and tossing it aside, reaching forward to grasp her hips. He helped her along, pushing her hips forward and back, feeling her pelvic bone as she bore down. To give the illusion of simply dancing, she did exaggerated swells of her arms in the air and sang Jingle Bell Time as a swell time to go gliding on a one-horse sleigh.
Fuck,
he muttered as she threw her head back and screamed. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock. Apologies. He could feel her slick through his pants, the fabric humid and hot. She just fucking came. Panicked, he frantically glanced around the office, relieved to see that everyone was too busy dancing and drinking to notice Ray's special sleigh ride. She leaned forward, hiked up the many layers of her big tulle party skirt, giving him a flash of her peachy round ass cheeks. No panties. Oopsie, she remarked over her shoulder. I seem to have forgotten my panties, Santa. He gulped, suddenly feeling feral. Unhinged normally is take his emotions out on a potted plant or a hole punch, but right now there was only one hole he cared about. He grabbed both her biceps and pulled her flush against his body, lips brushing her ear.
No fucking panties. Humping my leg in front of all these people. My pants are probably fucking ruined. What am I gonna do with you, Ray? What would you do if I just took my dick out right now?
I'd ride it like a reindeer, Santa, she cooed, her voice breathy and full of promise.
Fuck,
he spat, his grip on her arms intensifying. She wriggled her ass against his hard-on. Will I get more presents if I let you come inside me?
Jesus Christ. Is that what you want, for me to fuck you in front of the whole office? You're just gonna walk around and talk to Beaumont from accounting with my cum dripping down your fucking legs?
He loosened his grip from the shock as she turned around to look at him with a sardonic expression. Am I not being obvious enough? That's exactly what I want, Ben. He froze, his fingers reached for her hips despite the fear coursing through him. It was one thing to say exactly what was on his perverted monster mind. He didn't think she'd actually agree to it. His enthusiasm, so to speak, sometimes scared him in a way. This was nice while it lasted, if she was just humouring him out of some sense of novelty.
Is it, Ray? Are you being serious right now? Do you really want this? Me?
She threw her head back and cackled. Of course, dummy. Do I have to beg?
I just...
Shut up and stuff my stocking before people start noticing what we're up to. She nodded toward the other side of the office. Poe and Finn finally went into the supply closet, and Armitage and Rose are fighting, which means they're going to go fuck in one of the bathrooms any second. Alarm bells rang in his head. This was crazy, dangerous.
God, Ray, we can't. Your mom left with Amelin holdover in marketing about 20 minutes ago. We're good. Okay, he stammered. Fuck it, let's do it. He was probably one fuck up away from being fired anyway. Might as well go out with a bang. She pulled her phone out of her bra as he assessed the readiness of his cock. Yep, still hard as a fucking diamond. Ray flicked the screen with her thumb before tucking it back in her shirt. Jump Around by House of Pain started blaring on the speakers, and he couldn't help but laugh. It'd be a perfect cover for bouncing on his dick. She swiveled her torso around and grabbed his face with both hands, practically licking his lips apart to kiss him. He reached up to cup her face, and her skin was so damned soft. When she pulled away, he felt dazed and a little crazy, still in disbelief that this was actually happening. She winked and turned around, lifting herself up slightly to give him access. He sucked in a breath, giving himself a few unnecessary pumps for good measure, while she slowly lowered her body. He guided her with one hand on her hip, the other supporting his shaft as she slowly sank down. He'd barely let out an involuntary grunt when he was already fully enveloped in her wet heat. Immediately, she started bouncing enthusiastically and jumping both of her arms in the air in an imitation of unbridled enthusiasm for the Jock Jam staple. All he could do was try and keep up, supporting her vigorous up and down movements, his hands covering her entire ribcage. He couldn't believe he was actually fucking Ray Nema in the office in full view of a good amount of their colleagues. Despite his terrible reputation, she still wanted to fuck him. Her pussy was drenched, and he could feel her slick dripping down his balls, soaking the cheap red polyester fabric of his Santa pants. It was then he realised how badly he wanted her naked, how much he wanted to reach up and palm her sweet little tits and tease her nipples, circle her throat with his fingers, yank her hair back by the cute little buns lined up on her head. All of it. He wanted all of it. Jump up and get down, Ray shouted at Zori from payroll as the woman passed by, held up her red Solo cup for toast. Ray paused on the downward bounce and rolled her hips, taking his breath away. She leaned back, imitating a semi-not-safe-for-work lap dance that was borderline grounds for HR to come over and throw the company handbook at them. What they were actually doing would get the actual book thrown at them. She craned her neck back, and her lips met his earlobe. Don't you just love this song? Yeah, he stuttered, breathless from, well, everything. It's a classic. Are you close? She asked impatiently. I might come again. Your dick is so huge. Feels so fucking good. Oh, shit, now I am, he remarked, feeling the telltale tingle at the base of his spine. God, yeah, just let me have it, Ben. Song's almost over. You ready? Come inside me. I'm on the pill. Yeah, okay, sure, he sputtered like a dork as she sat back up just as the whole room erupted with a chorus of jump, jump, jump. Shit! He cursed in competition with the booming music as she bobbed up and down on his cock, timing with the apropos lyrics. Cum erupted from the tip of his dick just in time for him to drive all the way in and stop her from rising back up and making a huge mess of both of them. He braced his arms around her torso and pulled her close to his chest as each spurt birthed forth deep inside her cunt. She relaxed into him like a sated panther who'd secured its prey, and he buried his face in her neck, terrified to see if anyone had caught wind of their debauched display. Holy shit, I can't believe that just happened, he eked out, his voice strained as his cock continued to throb. She clenched down on him, kissed the side of his cheek. You should always believe in the magic of Christmas, she joked. He chuckled deeply in a way that he hadn't in years. He felt lighter, not just because he'd unloaded a metric ton of pent-up cum. He slipped out, she pressed her legs together, sitting up to fold her skirt underneath, as he tucked himself back in his multiple pairs of slacks. The party continued to buzz around them as if they were invisible. Claude was passed out in a cubicle, and the toys were still safe. She stood up and turned around
and he bolted up, catching his waistline to keep his get-up from falling on the floor. Ray toed the carpet with a red sneaker. Well, this was nice.
Wait, it was really nice, he blurted out. Can we maybe get a cup of coffee or something?
You don't have to do that, she smiled sheepishly, suddenly shy despite how she just made him her bitch. You don't owe me anything.
No, he reassured her. I'm not just saying that. What I mean to say is...
He was floundering. He pressed his lips together, suddenly feeling nervous, as if rejection was imminent, because who was he kidding? He was fine for a quick fuck, but she didn't want to be saddled with all his bullshit. She was clearly trying to let him off easy, and he was embarrassing himself. What are you saying, Ben? Her eyes widened, almost hopeful. She looked at him like he was the one with the power here. It felt strange, as unbelievable as having just secretly fucked her in front of everyone they worked with. He was a man with nothing to lose and everything to gain.
I'm saying I like you. I don't usually do stuff like this, but I think you're really pretty, and I can't believe... I understand if you don't want to pursue anything. I don't want you to think I'm some kind of scumbag, or that you're not so much more than just this. You know what I mean, right? Okay, I'm just rambling now.
She cut him off with a kiss, standing on her rubber-soled toe tips to wrap her arms around his neck. Stunned and then deeply relieved, he wrapped his arms around her, lifted her high up off the ground, squeezing her tight. When he placed her gently back on the ground, there was a small peanut gallery clapping around them. Poe was holding mistletoe in his hand and looked almost disappointed.
Looks like I wasted $2.29 on this, he exclaimed.
God, Poe, I told you she could handle this on her own. Rose scoffed. Good job, Reagan. High five. Come on, don't leave me hanging. Ray reluctantly returned to Rose's high five and shook her head at Poe. So, Peanut, you guys gonna go on a date or what? We're so tired of you two staring longingly across the office, Finn added.
Yeah, Ben, Armitage added. If Ray didn't make a move, I was going to accidentally lock you two in the server room, he gestured with finger quotes.
Well, you can all fuck off now, Ray smiled sarcastically. Ben and I are gonna get out of here.
Damn, Gina, get it, Poe teased.
The music had long since stopped, and the night sanitation crew had arrived, flicked on the harsh overhead fluorescence. Ray grabbed Ben's hand and pulled him towards the darkened hallway with the elevator bank. God, they're insufferable. I'm so sorry. She rolled her eyes and pressed the down button. I hope you didn't need your bag or anything. My coat's downstairs.
I'm good,
he replied, as they stepped into the elevator. Before the doors could close, she pounced on him again, backing him into the wall. For someone close to a foot shorter than him, she was unusually strong. When they broke for air, he whispered against her smile as his own grew even wider.
You never told me what you wanted for Christmas.
I already got it, Santa, she winked. But I can add something else to my list.
Oh, what's that, little girl?
He growled, pulling her tighter against his body, debating whether to push the emergency button and fuck her again. Come home with me? She asked tentatively. Do this the old-fashioned way? His heart was about to burst.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I can think of something else for you to stuff.
Fucking hell. Shit, Ray, of course.
They reluctantly separated when they reached her floor, and she practically ran to her cube to grab her coat and purse. She gave him a quick peck on the lips before ordering an Uber on her phone. There's a car 5 minutes away, she told him distractedly before walking briskly toward the elevator. Maybe you can finger me in the lobby before it gets here. He shook his head and laughed, quickening his steps to keep up with her. Suddenly, he loved his job. Things were suddenly looking up for Ben Solar at Organa Enterprises. The future was jolly as fuck. I love that fic. It's such a laugh. So I do apologise. I'm already a bit crackly today. So I took the kids to see Father Christmas. like the proper fancy one at the local garden centre. And are you scandalised? Are you scandalised because I left my house? I read all of the trigger warnings and everything. Hi, Vedavan. It was hot, wasn't it? It's a sexy, sexy fic. Were you here in time to get the link? You think there should have been a tag for Office Dynamics on it? We can. We got the link. Well, yeah, you can suggest it. So yeah, that was Jolly AF by Infinite Galaxies. Never a duff fic with Infinite Galaxies. Always a banger. So, do we want something? What are we in the mood for? Do we want something silly? Do we want something serious? Don't forget to feed and water your authors. Go give them kudos, give them comments, tell them how much you enjoyed it. Tell them how much they should be celebrated. Feed and water your authors. It's important. So what do we fancy? We have The Adventures of Snow White and Kylo Ren. We have Not Solo for the Holidays. We have The Beginning of Something Wonderful. And we have Home is Where the Heart Is. So, what are we feeling? Do we want to stay light-hearted for the first half and then drop into seriousness? What are we in the mood for? Is everybody feeling ready for the big festive kick? So, sorry, this is a bit blurry because we did far too much singing silly Christmas songs. I might have sung Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with my kids and my odds on about 24 times today. I do not know if the chat room has logged off or if... Hello, is there anybody out there? You're cooking supper. Okay, is it something delicious? Specifically, if you yeah, there are fics that have been recorded with me singing badly specifically on them, and it's genuinely terrible and very funny. And you can listen to a sample of it on my YouTube actually. I hope your supper is delicious too, Aaveena. I think we're going to go with The Adventures of Snow White and Kylo Ren. So, this is just it's a deeply cute story. So I don't know if any. Well, I hope you've all read it because it's just freaking adorable. So yeah, by our very own Shell. Hello, Shell. Thank you very much for letting me read not only your story but also your original fic tonight. Thank you. So additional tags: Halloween fluff, Halloween costume, single parent Ray, single parent Ben falling in love. Ray has a daughter, Ben has a son. Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas fluff and smut. Oh, what did that do? No, don't do that. I should not have a stream. I should go back to an era where I was just like, I will sit in a darkened salon and recite for you. What I'm saying is I'm a Luddite, and I just closed the tab and had to bring it back up again. That would be the link there. Have you got it? So yes, The Adventures of Snow White and Kylo Ren by Shell, 2035. I think I was posting it just as you were asking, Vedavan. Yeah. Do feed and water your authors. Leave them comments and kudos. Read the rest of the fic because I'm only reading you chapter 6. So seriously, it's a treat. It's a proper fluffy. This is like if you're having a nice hot bath just before
Like when the presents are all wrapped, you know, you can either stick your headphones on and listen to an MKR previous recording, obviously. But no, treat yourself to this fic because it's good fluff. It's just the best kind of fluff. You read it, you go, oh. So yeah, it's there. I'll try and do both. I'll try and do, but that would involve me chatting less and reading more. Are you sure? Daddy said that's what he wants for Christmas. Look, Lala gave me money. I know, sweetie. I just didn't think your dad fished. Ray answers. Caleb dragged her into the little outfitter store on Main Street, known for fishing. Well, everything. Since I've known him, he's never been. But Lala said he needed a new hobby if he wasn't going to ask you out. What does that mean? Ray had to chuckle. That is something Leia would say. Even the clerk trying to help giggled at that. Why don't you get your dad something like this? He asks. He pointed out one of the pre-packaged kits with a pole, hooks and bait. Look, Caleb, I think you'd like that. The boy studies it for a moment, even wrinkles his nose in the cute way his dad does when he's concentrating on something serious. All right, I'll get it. We also have these lures. The young man points to the wall where the bins of all sizes are. That's when Rain notices the fake worms and flies and other things she doesn't recognise. You have to have the right bait after all. You do. Caleb agrees with him like he's a professional fisherman. Only pick out a couple. We don't know what kind of bait your dad likes, she suggests as the clerk hands her a little bucket. Is this for the bait? It is. It's good to keep it out of little hands. Good idea. Thank you for your help, she says. Anytime. Hey, little man. He nudges Caleb with the leg with the end of the pole. I'm going to stash this behind the counter, right? Caleb nods, a little bit in awe that this man, well, he couldn't be older than 19, is talking to him like he's a peer and not a 6-year-old first grader. Which ones do you like the best? Ray asks, redirecting his attention. Are you sure Mama wants this? Ben asks London. Yeah, she likes to draw, the little girl says. She does it all the time. Ben has to bite back a grin. She does. He thinks what London is referring to is how Ray will doodle on the edges of quizzes and tests of her students who get all the answers. But he still lets her daughter pick out a pack of gel pens, the glitter ones. Those the ones. Yes, London proudly says. And paper. Mama needs paper, she adds as she grabs a pack of cardstock in different colours. He wonders how much of this is actually for Ray and how much is for London. Anything else? Socks! Mama needs fuzzy socks. That's true. Her feet are always cold. Ben smiles. Just last night she was tucking her feet under his legs to get them warm. Her very cold feet. There are some fancy ones over there. Lead the way. Make sure you take it to Kristen. Get her to clean it for you. Leia winks as she hands him the ring box. Do you think so? Do you think it's too soon? He asks. He knows that Ray is his. Has been since she first moved in. And they've pretty much been living together the past several months. But his mom's ring? His heart flips in his chest. I don't think so, but I married your dad after only knowing him for 6 months. Ben opened the ring box. A round pink diamond sits in an antique ring that came from someone Han knew way back when. But what makes his smile appear is when he pictures her saying I do at the end of some mythical aisle. He can't see past the ring exchange and their first kiss as husband and wife. But he can't wait. Are you going to ask her before you bring everyone over for dinner? Since Han and Leia's house is a little bigger than everyone else's, they're all eating Christmas dinner over there. Even Ray's parents, Jin and Cassian. I'm not sure. I just want to ask her before Christmas is over. Well, I'd love to get it on video if you'll let me.
You have to work late again. Ray whines, then cringes because even she can hear the whine in her voice. Sorry, I don't mean to pout. I know, I don't want to still be here either. I have to go, Snoke's coming. Love you, bye. Love you, bye. The phone goes silent. The table's already set. The kids are at their grandparents' house for the night. He must have forgotten, she says to the empty house. So she pours herself a glass of wine that she opened just for the spaghetti she made for tonight, walks into the living room. If I'd known, I would have gone Christmas shopping. Ben's t-shirt and her boxers are on, so she flops down onto the couch and reaches for the remote when she lands. I could wrap presents, she murmurs aloud, but then she remembers Ben got the youth group to do most of theirs at the mall where they were raising money for the children's home. I could bake something, but that's no fun all alone, you know. If I was a little braver, I'd just go to his office. Instead, I'll watch a movie. Her favourite throw is so soft. She's asleep before the actors speak the first word.
Ray, sweetheart, let's go to bed.
Ben, are you home? She blinks as he comes into focus.
I just walked in the door. Come on, let's go to bed.
She wraps her arms around his neck, knocking him off balance. He topples over but catches himself before he lands on top of her. A wicked but sleepy thought enters her head and she smirks. He only has enough time to murmur, Ray, before she's tugging him down on top of her.
I don't want to hurt you.
You're not. I like to feel you on top of me. She kisses his cheek before she kisses those lips of him. Of him? Of his. We're home alone.
Come on,
he says as he rolls off of her. She misses his heat as soon as he moves. Don't leave me, she mewls, but he's walking away. She sits up so she can watch him walk out of the living room into the kitchen. Where are you going? He pauses in the kitchen and looks around. She stops when she's behind him. Ben? He takes her hand and tugs her close to steal a kiss.
There's something I've always wanted to do, but there are always little people underfoot.
He smiles and she answers him with a giggle. His index fingers loop into the waistband of the boxers and they land on the floor. Her panties quickly follow. He still has his suit on and is wearing the Christmas tie London picked out for him last week when they're at the mall. It's the same time she grabs to pull him to her. Another kiss as his moan hums through, awaking her desire for him. His hands tighten on her hips as she slides his jacket off his shoulders. Only when it gets to the end of those wonderful arms of his that she breaks the kiss. His eyes open in surprise. She helps him pull the jacket off and only steps away from him to lay it on the table behind him. His brow arches in an unspoken question. I've seen your dry cleaning bill. If we can just keep your jackets clean, we should be able to cut it in half by the end of January. His arms surround her and he picks her up, her back to his front. He kisses her neck and admits, I love you. I love you. Now we can be crazy, she says as he sets her down. His hands return to her hips as she turns to face him. Then in a move that makes her squeak, he picks her up and puts her bare bottom on the tile countertop. That's chilly.
Well, it's a good thing that I'm here to warm you up. But first...
He steps away and opens the door to the refrigerator. He gets something out of the door, and when he comes back, his hands are behind his back.
Close your eyes.
Ben? She whispers as she shuts them.
I've dreamed about doing this.
He murmurs as she feels the fabric on her face. It must be his tie as he tightens it around her head. She feels the loss of his heat and starts to reach for him.
Don't move,
she hears. Another brush of fabric as he pulls his t-shirt that she's wearing off, leaving her naked on the island in the kitchen. Now I see why we don't do this when they're home. His chuckle makes her smile. Then the telltale sound of ready whip, and something cold on her left nipple. Under the whipped cream she can feel the same nipple hardening. Then the sound again as he covers the other. Ben, she growls. Don't move, he commands as he spreads her legs. Just this morning, she set out the slacks that now brush her on her knees as he steps in between them. Her hands itch to touch him, but they've played this game before, even if it didn't leave her naked in the kitchen. Hands land on her knees. Usually he'd squeeze to tease, but he must want something from her. His touch slides up her legs toward her centre, spreading her even more until he reaches her. Lean back, is his command. No hesitation. She tilts on her elbows. His fingers, warm and sure, spread her folds, and she hums in appreciation when the sound of the can fills the silence. But then something lands on her exposed clit, and I hope that's Cool Whip comes out of her mouth. What else would it be? No idea, but I'm assuming you're going to... Ah! Is all that comes out when his warm lips suck her tender flesh into his mouth. Fuck! Ben! What's the matter, sweetheart? He teases as he looks up and meets her eyes. She loves how he licks the mixture of her and the whipped cream off of his top lip. Is something wrong? No! She chokes out. I need you. And I need you. He straightens only so he can pull one of the stools she found in the consignment store over. He claims it as his own, and when he sits down... yeah, that's better. Before you start what you were doing a minute ago, could you grab me a pillow? Should we just go to the bedroom? He asks as he pulls his tie down. Their eyes meet, and his smirk is everything in that moment. He hands her the red and white can and sweeps her up in his arms. Her arms find their way around his neck, and their lips meet. She runs her finger through the waves of his neck and stops kissing him, but only for long enough to murmur, I love you. I love you, he says with a big, goofy smile, then hurries them down the hallway, not stopping until he's in what's become their room. She sees him wink in time for him to throw her on the bed, where she lands with a bounce and a giggle. She then watches him as he toes off his dress shoes, then without even unbuttoning his shirt, he's pulling it off over his head. It lands somewhere behind him, only to be followed by slacks and underwear. Now you're as naked as I am, she says with a grin and her arms wide open. He starts on his knees and lets her pull him down to her as she parts her legs to welcome him. His lips land on hers and her hands are in his waves as she tugs them closer. Not willing to wait any longer, she shifts until she can feel him at her entrance. His brows shoot up until the waves that drape across his forehead hide them. As she lifts her hips and the very tip of him enters her, she purrs, Fuck me, Ben. As you wish. His length slides in and he doesn't stop until he can go no further. You feel so good. He growls. Not as good as you. She purrs and he starts to move faster. As he pumps, he steals her breath, but his moments are translated as love, and she feels herself melting under his touch. No one's ever touched her this way before. She knows no one ever will again. Did you get your robe? What robe? Caleb asks. Ray tries to ignore the ache in her left temple that's trying to form. Caleb, sweetie, what did you do with the red robe I gave you 10 minutes ago? Oh, Robbie took it. Why did Robbie take it? Because his was too tight and he didn't want to tell you. Caleb was too busy watching and laughing at his classmates to pay attention to Ray while she's trying to get everybody ready to go on stage. Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy? He should be here soon, she replies and prays at the same time. Several other parents are here, but the excitement has everyone bouncing off the walls. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, she calls. Thankfully, after having these kids as her students for the past 5 months, they know to listen for her voice, especially when she says that phrase. A calm falls over the room. Even the parents stop to watch her, and she feels all of their eyes. She continues. Everyone under the age of 7, crisscross applesauce. Like the well-trained people they are, they sit wherever they're standing. Thank you, she rewards them with a grin. Now, without a word, just answer me by raising your hand. Who is dressed in your costume and ready to go on stage? Her heart falls when only half of them raise their hands. She quickly looks around, and it appears that the ones who have their arms up will be the ones singing. Everyone who doesn't have their hands up, please stand back up. She gives them a moment. Miss Jania, can you organise these guys? Yeah, Miss Ray. She waves them all over to the side of the room. As much as she wants to go help, she knows that someone needs to keep the rest of them distracted and someone to help the others get dressed. A knock on the door seems to answer her. The door squeaks open to reveal Ben. Several kids wave happily at her, but remain seated. Hopefully she'll remember to give them extra stickers. He steps toward her, and she loves how his hand goes to the small of her back before he kisses her temple. Several giggles and yucks echo the kiss. I'm not too late, am I? Not at all, she smiles at him. They're just finishing getting dressed. Then we can go. What do you need me to do? She loves how he looks nervous, but still asks. Do you feel like helping Jania? I'll find a book to read. I can read, he volunteers. Are you sure? She watches his face. They've only been doing this dating, sleeping over thing since Halloween, but years of just being his friend. She knows him. She also loves him so much it takes her breath away, makes her feel squishy, and all she wants to do is curl up in his pocket, never be apart from him again. Shell, it doesn't need my voice to make your words magical. Your words are already magical. I'm just saying them. Instead of words, he takes the couple of steps to the classroom bookshelf, grabs a blue one and rejoins her. All right, Ben is going to read us a book. Be good, she says. As she does, she looks them all in the eyes. And I'll see about some extra surprises. She chuckles as they wiggle in excitement. She looks up into his whiskey-coloured eyes that are watching every move she makes. Let me know if you need any help. Always, he answers. As she turns to walk away, she hears one of the kids ask, Are you, Miss Ray, going to get married one day? She happens to be watching Jania's face as her brows shoot up to hide in her curtain bangs. Instead of turning, she crouches down in front of Robbie and begins to help him fasten his stolen robe. Several children replace their friend as soon as she's done helping Robbie. When the last one's ready, she looks up. 10 minutes to get everyone to the auditorium. Hey, Jania, get them lined up. I need to grab the book. I've already got it, Ben says from the door, and lined up behind him, like little organised ducks, is her first grade class. Your line looks good, everyone. Stay behind Mr. Ben, and we'll be right behind you. Ray grabs her robe and a pair of slippers. Falling into step beside her, Jania whispers, If you don't marry that man, I'm going to leave Snap and do it myself. But you'd miss Snap, Ray protests. But you and Mr. Solo could help me get over it. Jenny's daughter, Lulu, interrupts with a tug on her mama's skirt, and Ray watches Ben. Caleb has his hand while he leads his dad to the auditorium. She isn't close enough to hear what Caleb's talking about, but by the way Ben grins at his son, it's got to be good. It doesn't take them long to reach the big room at the end of the hall. It's also the gymnasium, as is oftentimes the case in little schools, so the echo from the people filling the place is loud. But assigned at the beginning of the year, her kids at the beginning of the line lead down the class to the taped-off rectangle reserved for her class. Some of the teachers require their students to sit down as soon as they arrive. Ray also knows that many of her kids will want to see their parents, so they promise to stand inside the rectangle as they greet their friends and families. Besides, she needs to remind them their part in today's programme. She motions them all to come close as she sinks to the floor. Now, listen. That was the sweetest, funniest holiday programme I've seen in years, Jen giggles as she hugs London. Caleb, not to be left out for any kind of affection, scoots close to London's Mimi, who immediately hugs him too. Both of your classes did well. London giggles, then Caleb giggles, leading all the adults to chuckle with them. I vote for supper, Cassie announces. Who wants tacos? He gets his answer when the kids and the adults cheer. Caleb whispers, but instead of his loud whisper, London's taught him how to really whisper. I gotta go. Come on, kid, he answers. He meets Ray's unspoken question, and then his mom's, as he scoots his chair back in the Mexican restaurant. We'll be right back. As expected, grandparents watch him guide his son down the hall to the restrooms with knowing smiles. He opens the door for Caleb, and since this is the restaurant they come to when they need all things cumin and cilantro, his son knows where to go as soon as the door swings shut. Since he doesn't have to go, he tucks his left hand in his pocket, feeling for the box he's been keeping there. He pulls out the antique square and opens it gently. The pink diamond knowingly twinkles back at him from its black velvet. Hopefully soon you'll be resting on the finger of your new person. So as much as I really want to read the next chapter, what I actually want to do is curl up and read the rest of the fic again. What I'm actually going to say is, when the stream is over, go and read that, because we've got a lot to get through, and we will not get through it if I read this chapter. It's so hot, isn't it? That counter scene, oh my goodness. I love the kind of the warm familiarity of it. The way that, like, it's sexy and they're having fun, but actually, you know, they're going to go to bed because that's where sex is better, because it's comfy and you can, like, go to sleep. And that's where your things are. But there's the kind of the way they play together. It really shines how beautiful that relationship is, as well as, yeah, it's not just. I think it's kind of an interesting counterpoint to Jolly AF, where in Jolly AF they have hot sex, but they don't know each other, and that is not a place that is conducive to intimacy. But the intimacy in here really glows. It's gorgeous. So we've got Not Solely for the Holidays. I'm obviously not going to read. Really glad you enjoyed it, Vedvan. And yes, thank you, Shell, so much for letting us read that. Thank you, both for your kind words. So Not Solely for the Holidays. I am just going to read the first chapter. I would love to go into it more depth at another point, but we have so much to get through, and I'm going to need that break today. So we're going to do this one, and then I'll have a break, and then we'll go on to the original work. So we'll have the first chapter, possibly chapter 2, but that's certainly the first chapter. So this is Not Solo for the Holidays by Aaveena. Link is in the comments. Our tags: alternate universe, modern setting, Christmas, holidays, fake pretend relationship, lies, family froth, mutual, pining, strangers to lovers, summer angst, eventual smut. We're not going to get to the smut. Past character death, abandonment issues, past trauma. Ben Solo is the softest boy, Ray needs a hug. Christmas fluff, happy ending, sharing a bed, fake dating, engagement, semi-public sex. Mentions of pregnancy in the epilogue, but again, we're only going to read the first chapter. Hallmark, but make it horny. Mostly just comfort food and vibes. And it is. This is the fic equivalent of comfort food. It's gorgeous. So due to a series of well-intentioned lies, Reylo needs a boyfriend for the holidays for eerily similar reasons. Ben Solo needs a girlfriend. In an effort to achieve some peace over the Christmas season, two perfect strangers hatch a plan to dupe their family and friends into believing they are in a committed relationship with each other. 'Tis the season for deception. Oh, this one has a Russian translation. That's cool. I've only ever had that can I translate your fic message once, and I felt like a superstar. It was amazing. He shows up in the middle of the dinner rush. The bell above the door dings and Ray's head turns, and she notices him, only vaguely at first. Only in the way one has to notice someone so tall and broad entering such a relatively small space. But she's busy running orders to and from the kitchen, and he doesn't sit in her section, so she doesn't pay him too much mind beyond that. Beyond noticing a lot. He continues to catch her eye as the night progresses. She takes in the slump of his shoulders, the stooped angle of his back, the dark mess of his hair as his fingers comb through it over and over. His distress is almost palpable, filling the air. It's shocking how no one else seems to notice it at all. He orders a coffee but doesn't drink it. Doesn't even touch the cup, just stares. Just watches it grow cold and stale. More than once throughout the evening, Ray finds her feet pointed in his direction. It's like they want to take her there. She doesn't let them, shaking the foolishness from her head, turning away every time. Seconds and minutes and hours tick by on the clock perched above the kitchen window, and the restaurant clears only until she, Rose, Maz, and the other guy are left. Rose's foot taps a steady rhythm against the linoleum below, her bottom lip pulled between her teeth as she watches the door. She perks up with an audible inhale as a flash of ginger outside. Shy eyes peer through the glass, accompanied by the tap of knuckles and a tentative wave. "Look who's here," Ray smiles, her voice kept low, conspiratorial, teasing. "Yeah." Rose's eyes practically morph into big, exaggerated cartoon hearts. "Is it okay if I just pop out there really quick, just to say hello?" Ray shakes her head around a breathy chuckle. "Just go, I can finish closing." "Are you sure?" "Rose, please." Ray puts both of her hands on her friend's shoulders. "Go on your date. One of us ought to have some fun tonight. And I suppose I won't see you again before you leave, so happy Christmas." "Oh." Ray's inhales, looking suddenly sheepish. "Well, now that you mention it, I was thinking of staying home this year, maybe." "Home as in here?" "Yeah." Rose bites her lip. Ray shakes her head, certain she has misheard. "What? Why?" "I've got a lot of schoolwork that I need to catch up on." It's a lie, and a bad one at that. She and Ray are in the same classes. They have the exact same workload, and Rose always finishes before Ray does. The benefit of not having to take as many shifts to cover tuition. "And I was thinking it'd be fun. Maybe I could stay over at your place, or you could stay at mine. We could bake cookies, exchange gifts. It could be like Friendmas instead of Thanksgiving." Ray stuck speechless for a moment, first by shock, then by confusion, and then finally those two melt into a boiling hot rage and she sees flames. "Finn put you up to this, didn't he? That little..." He'd tried to get out of his own trip this morning. Poe had been carrying his luggage down to the idling car, but Finn stood waiting on the stoop of their building. Ray had gone for a hug, but he'd stopped her, his hands gentle on her upper arms, his eyes alight with the same concern Rose's hold now. "I don't have to go," it said. "I can stay." What it asked aloud was, "You sure?" She hadn't been then, still isn't now, but she'd forced the brightest, most genuine-looking smile she could muster onto her face and practically pushed him into the passenger seat. "He didn't," Rose protests, another lie. "He did, because the two of you think me some incapable toddler, liable to spontaneously combust if left alone for longer than 4 hours." "That's not true. I only..." She presses her lips together, fingers twining at her waist nervously. "I know this time of year is like a thing for you." "It is not a thing. It is absolutely a thing. It's the thing." Of course she's not going to admit that now, no. That would mean defeat. That would mean Rose cancelling her family plans to spend Christmas babysitting Ray, and the thought of that alone, the thought of being such a burden. Fear, bright, shining panic, grips Ray's heart and makes her do something stupid. "You can do whatever you want, but I already have plans." She doesn't know where the lie comes from, but it's out and living a life of its own before Ray can even consider what she said. Rose stops, her mouth falling open and then snapping shut. "You do?" "Yes." "What kind of plans?" Rose doesn't believe her, which logically makes sense because she is lying, but only serves to make Ray angrier. "I'll be with someone." Rose narrows her eyes. "Someone?" "Yes, someone I've been seeing." Ray scrambles, her mind struggling to string words together in a way that's both coherent and convincing. "I've started seeing someone and we're spending the holidays together." Rose seems angry herself now. "Since when? Who?" "Not long." She scratches the back of her neck and adjusts the collar of her shirt. "Did Mouse turn up the heat?" "You don't know him. We have plans to spend Christmas together." Why is this the first I'm hearing about him? About any of this? I don't tell you everything, you know. Yes, you do. Rose folds her arms across her chest. We both do. I told you when I met Army. That really does make Ray feel a little bad. She actually would tell Rose if she'd met someone. But she'd told the lie for a reason. A really good one, she reminds herself. So simply no backing down now. In for a penny. It's really new. It's really new and you're going to spend Christmas together? Ray shrugs. Neither of us had alternative plans. She can tell that Rose still isn't buying it. Look, she turns her friend around to face the outside doors and the man waiting for her on the other side. Your date is waiting. We can talk about this later. Rose looks back over her shoulders, brows hard set and stubborn. Don't think we won't, Nima. Ding. The bell chimes and the door shuts and Ray presses her back against the glass. Hannah exhales like she's run a mile, thankful for maybe the first time in her life to be alone. Well, not really alone. He's still here. Maz pokes her head above the window, looking into the kitchen, perhaps having heard the bell. The guy, sulky, sad sack slouching in the back corner, catches her attention too. She points to him and then to the clock on the wall overhead. Get him out of here. Nodding, Ray gives her aching feet what they seem to have been longing for since he wandered in hours ago. She stops just beside his table, but he doesn't look up. He doesn't even move. Is there anything else I can get you today, sir? She asks, pen pressed in the notepad at the ready. Or just the cheque? A pointed question like that is usually enough to get most people to realise it's time to leave. Not this guy, apparently. He snorts, his head buried in his hands. Her girlfriend? The smallest laugh bubbles out of her throat, a surprise even to her. Sorry, fresh out of those. I was thinking pie. More coffee? He's been nursing the one in front of him since he came in. It must be ice cold. He looks up but then stops, blinks, and... Oh, God. He's hot. Like, ridiculously hot. Like, unfairly hot. His eyes trail a slow line from her face down to her feet, and her stomach flips. Why couldn't he have come in yesterday? Yesterday, she wore a cute blouse speckled with polka dots and daisies. Yesterday, her skirt had been free of mustard stains. Yesterday, she'd actually had a bit of time in the morning to throw on a bit of makeup. She watches him take her in as she is today, barefaced, wrinkled shirt plucked from beneath her bed just before she'd rushed out the door for class, shoes threadbare like the rest of her, completely lacking. You're not my waitress. Oh, no. Ray agrees with a little shake of her head. Rose had to leave, I'm afraid, so you're stuck with me. What's your name? Smirking, Ray taps the little silver name tag pinned to her top. Ray. The way her cheeks flame at just the sound of her own name on his lips is... apologies. Ray. The way her cheeks flame at just the sound of her own name on his lips is actually mortifying. She watches him scan the restaurant, brows furrowing when he turns to look out of the window beside his booth. What time is it? He pulls up the sleeve of his suit jacket, revealing a black watch, face detailed with gold. Christ. He peers up again, apparently apologetic. You're probably trying to get rid of me. Ray worries her bottom lip between her teeth because, yes, she had been, but she finds herself less inclined toward kicking him out now, for whatever reason. Nope. She holds up her notepad, physical proof of her feigned innocence. Just trying to take your order. Of course. He nods, rubbing a large hand across his jaw. Do you have anything to drink? Anything strong? Ray laughs. Coffee? You're at a diner, not a bar. Yeah, I know. He sighs, his head returning to the cradle of his palms. Sorry. He waves his hand at her in general direction. Just bring me the check and I'll get out of your hair. Ray frowns, her shoes squeaking on the mop-shod linoleum floor. She's not sure she's ever seen someone look so despondent. Tucking her pad into the pocket of her apron, she slides across into the booth across from him. Are you okay? It's an awkward question, one made even more uncomfortable when the answer is already clearly no. Honestly, he laughs ruefully. No. Is it something I can help with? She doesn't know why she asks that, but she does, and he looks up at her with bemused appreciation, the smallest hint of a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Unless you really do have a spare girlfriend's stash back there. He inclines his head towards the direction of the kitchen. Then also no, but thank you. There are traditionally ways of acquiring those, you know. Ray offers lightly, hopeful to get him smiling again. Typically, you meet someone, date for a while. The guy seems less than amused. Unfortunately. I am aware of how to get a girlfriend, he says flatly, in a general sense at least. Believe it or not, I have had one or two in the past. So why are you trying to order one from me then? He presses his lips together, his full lips. They're pink, in that freshly bitten way. Maybe he has the same bad habit she does. She can envision him pulling them between his teeth when he's nervous or agitated. She does not allow herself to imagine his mouth in any other capacity because she is professional and not completely self-destructive. I'm in a bit of a time crunch. Why? He sighs. It's a long story. Ray gestures around at the empty tables and booths that surround them. I've got time. Why do you care? She doesn't really have a reason for her level of investment in this stranger's life, so she shrugs. She feels bad for him mostly, but saying that feels a bit too much, and if he's providing just the right level of distraction from her own problems, well, no one has to know. It's this or Netflix, is what she settles on eventually, defaulting to humour as always. Deflecting, some Finn might call it. The man nods. You find my personal tragedy entertaining. Fantastic. No, not really, she admits, but maybe I can help if you just tell me. The stranger narrows his eyes as he considers her, the corners of his mouth pulled down into a slight frown, and she thinks he might refuse, but then he sighs. I don't have a girlfriend. He gestures with one hand as if to say, obviously, but my mother thinks I do. Why? Because that's what I told her. What are the odds of that? Ray just stares from him, dumbfounded. The man must take her shock as disapproval of some kind, because he continues unprompted and a tad defensive. It's complicated. He presses 2 fingers and his thumb to the wrinkles gathering his forehead. My mother is... I love her, I really do. He says like he has to convince himself, but she's slightly impossible. She has this completely unhealthy interest in my romantic life. It's an obsession. Really, I think in her mind, I should be married already, have 2 kids, a house with a picket fence, the whole 9 yards. But I'm not, and I don't. She invited me to a family's lake house for Christmas, and I just knew that it was going to be another long weekend of her trying to set me up with the eligible son or daughter of every person she's ever met, and I couldn't do it again. I can't turn down another date with her dentist's niece or butcher's son, so when she asked me if I was bringing someone, I said yes. That was, he checks his watch again, about 4 hours ago, and I don't even know how I got her off of the phone or how I got here, much less how I'm going to get a girlfriend in less than a day. Ray laughs, full-bellied and hearty. She laughs until tears stream down her cheeks and her stomach hurts. The man stands, his face having darkened considerably, and for a moment Ray's simply taken aback by his height, or she realises he's leaving. Glad I could provide you with a laugh, he snaps, digging through his pocket. He pulls out a dark leather wallet and slaps a 20 on the table. This should cover the coffee. Keep the change. No, stop! Ray reaches for sleep but misses, a hand wrapping around his pinky finger and ring finger instead. He freezes, they both do. The feel of his skin on her own is... She doesn't know what it is, but it's something that Ray consciously ignores. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you, I swear. I'm laughing at myself, at us. His face screws up. What do you mean? You didn't overhear me and the other waitress, Rose, talking just before I came over, did you? She doesn't think it's possible. He had, but she has to ask. No. The man frowns, confusion warring with his patience. She's my friend, one of my best friends. Not that she has many to differentiate from, but it feels important to say. She was about to cancel her plans to go back home to visit her family so she could stay with me. She's worried about me being alone, not even romantically, just in a general sense. It's a dreadfully embarrassing thing to admit, that her friends think her so woefully fragile, that they feel she's a child in need of constant and unbroken attention. If the stranger thinks so too, he doesn't mention it. His eyes stay soft and intent, and he nods encouragingly when she doesn't continue right away. I couldn't let her do that. She shouldn't have to babysit me, you know, so I told her I've been seeing someone. A complete lie, and I would be spending the holidays with this fictional person. It takes a moment, but eventually the stranger's face splits into a wide grin. Long dimples creasing his cheeks, his chest heaves around, a breathy laugh. Wait, Vedaman, I know what you mean. Vedaman said, oh no, a hot guy needs a fake GF. And Ray, you need a fake BF? What's it got to do? I love it. The way it's set up. Like, it could be cheesy, but the way Aaveena's written it is just, it feels like weirdly organic. And like there's sort of lampshade hung that it's a bit odd. But it genuinely does feel like an organic. I think because of the way they react to each other and stuff, like it could have been like, oh, you need this and I need this, and it could be trite, but it's just because it's so slickly written, it feels very real. I really like that. Wow, we're quite a pair, aren't we? So I wish I could help you, but it seems we've somehow managed to dig ourselves into the very same hole. He nods once and then pauses, dark brows pulling together in a thoughtful expression. I take that to mean that you don't actually have plans for the holidays. He sits back, hands folded in front of him, very businesslike. That depends if you count frozen turkey dinners, box wine and a Christmas movie marathon as plans. I do not. Then no plans. I have a proposal of sorts. One I think might benefit us both. There's a pause, one that stretches on and on, until Ray realises he's waiting for her to say something. Okay, she nods hesitantly. Surely he can't be about to suggest what she thinks he's going to suggest. You and I have both made promises we can't follow through on, have claimed significant others that do not exist. But if we pose as each other's... She cuts him off with a laugh, high-pitched and sharp, the sound leading just the wrong side of manic. You want me to be your fake girlfriend? Yes, essentially, he agrees with a nod, and I would be your fake boyfriend. He says that last bit distastefully, like the concept, or perhaps just the term, is somehow below him, despite the plan being his own. I don't even know you. You could be a serial killer or something. Not a serial killer, he offers, holding 3 fingers in the air, Scout's honour. I could be a serial killer, she challenges. One corner of the stranger's lips tick upward. Are you? Well, no, but that's beside the point. The point being that it's a bad idea, the worst idea, a really terrible, awful idea. This is the moment, TM, the beginning of the end of a true crime documentary, the part where you frown at the screen and whisper, oh no. That, or the inciting incident of a rom-com, the part just after a meet-cute, when the couple hatches a plan so convoluted they've no choice but to fall madly in love by the end. But this is real life and not a made-for-TV movie. The logical part of Ray's mind is leading toward the former, unfortunately, and she's not looking to get killed this holiday season. I don't even know your name. Ben. He holds out his hand, a completely and utterly belated greeting, but places it back on the table when Ray hesitates just a moment too long. Ben Solo, and you're Ray. Just Ray for now. Of course. The man, Ben Solo, holds up his hands, palms out. I mean you no harm, they say. I just want to take you on a murder field trip to meet my parents. Even knowing your name, you're still a complete stranger. Look, he begins, a clear attempt to rationalise an irrational proposition. We both need dates for their holidays. You to convince your friend to go home with her family, me to convince mine to leave me alone about my love life. 4 days, that's all I'm asking. Tomorrow, Christmas Eve, Christmas, and the day after. We'll fly in the first day, fly back out the last. I'll cover your flights, of course. Worst case scenario, consider it an all-expense-paid vacation to the lake for Aquino. One where you have to share a house full of nosy, slightly overbearing people, but still not a bad deal. Ray chuckles. if I make it out alive.
It's funny. Ben grins. Those are my thoughts going into every visit with my family. Oh. Rose sighs, fingers pressed against her lips. I don't know. Oh God, is she considering this? Ben's eyes seem to ask the same question. They flit across her face, back and forth, up and down, taking in something. He presses no further though, just watches her, silent and patient, like he watched his coffee all night. It seems crazy, right? It does. It is, I think. Ben agrees. But tell me this. Would you rather spend the next 4 days with me or admit to your friend you lied?
Well, that clinches it. Okay. I'm in.
So, again, as much as I would love to read you the rest of this fic, yeah, treat yourself to a nice boozy hot chocolate maybe, or a glass of wine, and curl up and get ready to meet the solos. There's some lovely twists in this fic. There's some little bits and pieces that are just gorgeous. So yeah, treat yourself to Not Solo for the Holidays by Aaveena. It's a fantastic fic. I am going to take a 5, so I'm going to come back at 20 past the hour, but I need a lozenge. I could put the twinkly. I'm going to put the twinkly Christmas music back on.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for bearing with me. I genuinely just needed to grab a drink because I was getting a bit sore. So, I will warn you that when I'm reading at the beginning of something wonderful, I'm reading it from the Kindle app, which is a bit clunky to read from because it runs in the wrong direction. But I have yet to figure out how to export from the Kindle app into something where I can build a script from. So bear with me if it's a bit clunky. So we're going to have that, and then we will... Oh, feel free to chat. If you're chatting among yourselves, it's absolutely spot on. If it's something that you need a response from me, then I will probably wait till a reasonable bit to stop. But yeah, absolutely chat away. Please, yeah, if you want to comment on the story, or and yeah, absolutely chat among yourselves. Seeing you guys chatting is one of my favourite things about this, because obviously this is effectively a therapeutic exercise for me. This is something that'll help this come back, because I have audiobooks to record and fix to record in proper folied up style. So yeah, this is, for me, this is a tool. My favourite bit about these is watching you guys' reactions to the stories. It genuinely makes me up. It's my favourite bit. So it's telling me I've got 2 people in the chat, which concerns me because I'm pretty sure that's Aaveena and Vedavan, and I don't want to read Shell's story when she's not here. There we go. We're back to 3 people in the chat. So just want to make sure that Shell is here before I. If I don't get a sort of ping from Shell, then I will. I'll read. I'll read it the other way around. All right, we're gonna do it the other way around then. So the next story that we are going to read, I'm just gonna, because I can't link you to a fan fiction site here, so I'm just gonna go to here we go. So if this is the wrong region for you, if you go to the Amazon bit and just change the Amazon suffix to the one for your region, it will take you directly to the book. This is Home is Where the Heart Lies, and we are going to read the appropriately named Christmas Day. When Rachel stepped into the street, she saw it was snowing, big fluffy snowflakes, perfect for Christmas morning. It was still dark as night, and she could see the clumps of snow falling silently inside the yellow cones cast by the street lamps. Pauline's car was warm, and she was smiling. "This will be a great day," she exclaimed, and Rachel had to agree. They walked into the mouth-watering smell of roasting turkey. Pierre had dark circles under his eyes, but was also smiling. Armand had helped him load the first birds before leaving for his morning shift at midnight. Even with half the day's prep done on the eve, there was still much to do. They loaded smaller birds in the ovens, carefully spacing them apart, the others still in brine for the exceptional supper shift. Pauline's pies were ready. The other dessert, pudding chômeur, an upside-down cake drowned in maple syrup, would be made later in the day. Around 7 a.m, with the light finally piercing through the windows, everyone stopped what they were doing to have a light breakfast. They exchanged news of their grandkids unwrapping just one gift early on Christmas Eve supper. They would see them again this evening and hear all about this morning's excitement under the traditional tree. They'd watch home videos later on. Rachel thought back to last year's Christmas when she'd had to travel from her mother's home to her father's flat and though they were both still in London, she had resented the trips to and fro. Her reserved room at her father's would always feel like a guest room to her. With her roommate, she'd strung up some lights, but she hadn't bothered making a tree this year. She shook herself from the negativity. The rest of the morning was spent in a blur of dicing carrots, smashing potatoes, boiling frozen peas and making veggie soup. Ben came in early to fold paper napkins in festive pine tree shape and put up simple decorations along the walls. No tree here either this year. It had finally died a broken, twisted metal death in a tangle of half-burned-out lights. Banderol and colourful lighting from the one still working string would have to do. Finally, everything had either finished cooking or was still in the oven, or on the stove. Pierre-Luc looked at the time and called in Ben to start packing the lunchboxes. A short list today. Pierre-Luc handed Rachel his car keys. So much trust, she thought, if only this work paid. The car was now covered in snow, but as Rachel walked out with Ben alongside, she saw the snow was so light that brushing off the soft coating was more fun than work, and she laughed, deliberately flinging slow at the tall, quiet man on the other side of the car roof. Ben stood there, cocked eyebrow, an odd expression on his face. Annoyance or something else? Rachel couldn't make it out. He shrugged off her fluffy assault. Businesslike again, they loaded the insulated boxes and soon were off. He was quiet, but sitting in such close quarters with him, smelling him in spite of the obvious effort he'd made up to clean up for today. Rachel nervously started chattering, telling him again about how breaking a window led to her serving soup to the people in real trouble. Sounded a little awful, said that way. He didn't speak for a bit. She chewed her lip, concentrating on the road ahead, driving in the weather she still wasn't great at navigating. And on the other side of the road, still confused for a bit. Yes, there was a lot to focus on. No need to sweat the small stuff, as they said on this side of the pond. Yeah. Ben finally blurted out into the silence. He twirled the gold band on his finger. Rachel wanted to sink under her seat, but she was the one driving, so she had to steer them back at some amiable space. Armand told me how he... Careful what you say now, girl. How he needed a kitchen and some services for a while when he was a kid. I think Eric, too? Eric, yeah, the 90s were rough. And Armand, what else did he tell you? Did he tell you about me? To hear suspicion in that deep rumbling voice, like a threatening avalanche, shook Rachel, who had to breathe through her nose just to keep calm. These people are in real trouble. You just said so yourself. Without glancing over to her companion, she tried another angle. Pauline said you're in the military? I asked because you still look it, and Armand said you lost your wife. Again, silence filled what little space there was in the car, especially with such a big man in it. They were at their next stop. Ben picked up a box from the back, and for a moment Rachel thought he wouldn't return. When he did, he breathed a great big sigh. Armand helped me quit drinking after I lost everything. His tone was odd, simultaneously grateful and wary. Rachel remembered what the red-headed nurse had said, his wife and unborn child. It was a hard blow, she offered, letting compassion infuse her voice. I don't know the details, but I think anyone might have crashed after losing a family like that. Nothing more was spoken on the subject, but an understanding permeated the silence. They made the next stop, and she watched him lumber up the steps. The old gentleman at the door peered over at her, then back at Ben with an honest smile. He waved at her as Ben made his way back to the car. She liked how that smile and wave made her feel. Better than working in an office. The whole car rocked when Ben sat back down, and Rachel laughed and asked for his measurements. 6'4", I weighed 220 pounds and benched as much when I was working out in the military. He said it with a hint of pride, glad to change the subject, but pulled his jacket back to reveal his tattooed forearm, measuring its girth against the memory. But I don't think I'll ever weigh that much again. I must be down to 180. Lighter, but not skinny yet, Rachel thought, seeing the muscle under the too thin skin. She understood why the wedding band seemed too large. He must be so cold. Does he sleep at a refuge? You're still tall, though. Maybe it's like you're stuck in limbo, Rachel suggested, wanting to give him hope. She winced, being silly. It's temporary. How old are you? 29. You? 23. I'll be done with school in the spring, finally, she sighed. What degree? BBA. I hate it. She realised as she said it was bleak. To each their own hell. There was a moment before Rachel replied. The soup kitchen is a godsend then, for both of us. It's helping me, yeah, but you? I think it's helping me too. You're not quitting school to join the crew, are you? No, she laughed. I'll get my degree and a job, but like the others, I think I'll find solace in volunteer work. Solace, Ben repeated, as if savouring the word on his tongue. You say that. How many hours do you have left to do? I'm not sure. Another week? I can continue, right? Until I'm buried in schoolwork. Sure, and then we'll see then. What did you do in the military? She was curious enough to ask. Weapons tech. What's that? Fixing the weapons mostly. Guns, rifles, machine guns, you name it. Even the big guns and tanks, other stuff too, like portable stoves. He tucked in a lip. The army tries to be as self-sufficient as possible. That sounds like a worthwhile trade. Did you find work when you got out? Yeah, fixing lawnmowers and things in a shop that has a contract with the city. Didn't like it? Didn't pay enough? She felt him stiffen uncomfortably beside her. Sorry, I'll stop asking questions. All right, thanks. In a low whisper, as if to himself, he added, I can say no. Then said nothing more for the rest of their run. Rachel felt the malaise build up for about a minute before it faded into companionable silence. The light snow stopped, and the sun broke through in places, shining on snow-covered trees and cars, even dressing up the garbage bags in funny white wigs. The rest of the day would be glorious. They made it back in time to help the crew with the big Christmas rush. It was a hectic afternoon, and maybe twice the clientele they usually had. Roasted turkey alternated with traditional meat pies and savoury pork stew that had been made and frozen before Rachel had started working there. Someone had set up a portable speaker to play traditional holiday music, alternating between French and English classics in this bilingual neighbourhood that was starting to see more colour move in with all the troubles outside Canada's borders. The cosmopolitan metropolis really felt like a privileged bubble. It felt like back home. But the ones that came in the kitchen today were often too lost to function properly. Rachel knew she was lucky to stand this side of the counter. When she saw Benjamin in line again, it felt unfair. She said nothing, but gave him an extra meatball. He looked at her again, into her soul, it seemed, and his dark amber eyes took her breath away. He blinked at her. She must have gaped because he smiled and looked down at his plate again. Now she was totally rooted in place. That smile. Merci, fille, Therese murmured beside her when the tall vet had moved down the line. Merci, il m'a fait de le faire. Yeah, me too, girl. Lâchez pas. Keep at it. I'm one station down. Eric chuckled. Lunch continued longer than usual to give more time for more people to profit from the generosity of a few. During a short lull, she saw that Benjamin was sitting at his usual place. He was drawing on a sheet of paper someone must have given him. He was very focused on his work, occasionally chewing a lip. A red and black pen lay nearby. Maybe Pierre had given him those, plus the blue one he was using. As he drew, a bubble of peace seemed to form around him. Closer to the centre of the lunchroom, people were warming up. Feeling better and bolder, laughter erupted in places. Some singing softly in tune with the song playing over the loudspeaker. The place was becoming packed. It was good to see so many fed and warm. The stench some gave off seemed to evaporate when they sat, smiling, their faces cleaned, but their threadbare clothes the same as every day. Rachel saw Pierre-Luc glance around the room, brows knitted with worry. When Armand finally came in, he sighed in relief, but his apprehension did not go away. Pierre looks worried, Rachel told her crewmate. Ah, il dans gang qu'on connaît pas. Yeah, some are here we don't know, Therese replied by way of explanation. Ton faillot dans trouble. Sometimes there's trouble. Oh, Rachel replied, suddenly feeling a pinch of apprehension. She looked around her. Everyone seemed alert, but still calm. This wasn't their first holiday dinner. She looked at Ben. I forgot to ask his last name, she realised. He was still focused on his drawing. One sheet had been put aside, had started a new one. Then someone shuffled over to stand before him and asked to share his paper and pens with him. Ben looked up at them, then down at the materials on the broad table. He handed them a sheet and a red pen. Apparently that wasn't good enough. The little man protested, pointing at his girlfriend in the corner across the room. She wants the blue pen, he insisted, the one Ben was using now. Ben shook his head no, so it seemed the other man felt he was being snubbed before anyone could react. He grabbed the blue pen out of Ben's hand, or tried to. With lightning-quick reflexes, Ben jumped over the table, landed between the fellow challenging him in his drawings. He'd put the pen down and now stood there, a head taller than the would-be thief. For some incomprehensible reason, the shorter man accepted the challenge. They grappled and started spinning around each other in the centre of the area, hitting and emptying chairs as people moved away from them. Maudit merde! swore Pierre-Luc. Armand, aide-moi, le mettre dehors. Damn, shit, Armand, help me get them out of here. Between them, Pierre grabbing Ben's coat and pack, guiding him outdoors, and Armand, he was used to unruly patience, tackling the troublemaker. They moved the struggling pair outside. Ben had raised his hand in surrender. He knew the rules. People got up to stand at the window to see if the fight would continue outside, with some taking bets. Ben seemed to be a favourite contender, but Rachel spoke into the upset to no one in particular. Someone picked up the drawings and pens left on the table and brought them to her. She looked over at Pauline, who nodded back. Rachel accepted them. She would give them back to Ben later. She opted not to watch the fight, while some actually went outside. What are they doing? She asked Pauline. Pierre and Armand came in, disappointment on their faces, but not surprised. Il y a toujours un cave à basson, trop écrit, pense-t-il, et qui a besoin de se prouver avec quelqu'un. Pauline answered. Shit. There's always some drunk, too angry to hold himself, one who needs to prove himself in a fight. Joyeux Noël, she added sarcastically. Oh, the scale was less about my pronunciation and more that I did that in the Pierre-Luc voice and not the Pauline voice, which we agreed was the higher, slightly squeaky one. So, yeah. It was less my pronunciation, although not great, I'm aware, but more to do with the fact that I read it straight in the wrong voice. Realised at the end of the month, I don't think I can ramp up and do that again in the correct voice at this point. Avec Ben? Deplored Rachel. Ben, c'est le plus grand ici, puis l'ardeux, mais c'est le mec contraire. What? Rachel asked, not sure what Paulina said. He's a tall challenge, right? He looks soft too, but he's not. Just like in bars, guys are always picking fights when they're angry. Christmas Day at the soup kitchen made some feel even worse. Ah, right, bollocks. Kiss? Kiss. Pauline laughed. But why put Ben outside? Rachel blurted. It seemed unfair. Les règlements. Of course, the rules. It wasn't unfair. Rachel went out back to put the drawings in a safe place. There was food everywhere. The office was closed while Pierre and the others tried to calm the place down. She put the papers on top of her bag, which hung on a hook at the entrance over the coat. But the papers kept shifting and falling to the long mat below, where the boots were drying. So she gathered them up and put them inside her bag for safekeeping, for now. Ben didn't come back in, and Armand had to leave for the rest of his shift after a quick dinner. Rachel had to hold back not to stuff herself like the turkey, be useless for the rest of her shift. She washed the floors. They had a 2-hour break before an exceptional Christmas dinner service, but only a few of the help left. Eric and Armand for the evening, and Therese popped out to help fix things up at her daughter's, who lived nearby. Pierre-Luc was on the phone.
Okay, merci. Je veux attendre son heure.
Okay, thanks. I expect you in 1 hour. Rachel took the drawings out, curiosity and idle time giving her a moment's rest to look at them. Farmland landscapes, farms and farmsteads, a lone tree, cows, drawn with that hatch pattern that pen artists favour. She saw clouds with the sun ray shining on a lonely tree, and a poem. A ray from heaven, a fleeting moment in time, sunshine and solace. Solace, she thought. Thinking of the earlier conversation, she remembered the way he had tasted the word, savouring it. The sheets in her hand were already curling. She saw a grease stain on one page. It was Christmas. Pierre, she called out. I think I will go out after all.
Sure, I shall be back in an hour.
Of course it was Christmas, and Rachel soon found out that only the local gas station and a pharmacy was open, and the latter would close at 5. She walked the aisles, looking at the holiday cards, remembering she'd been invited to her uncle's and had nothing for them. She picked up a card, a fashionable fragrance for her uncle, it's really for her aunt, and as she walked by the school supplies, she saw what she thought might be useful. Notebooks. A few styles were offered. Colourful, sturdy covers for spiral-bound books that had lined or plain paper. She picked a plain paper one. As she turned away, a burst of colour caught her eye. There, peeking from under the pile, was a metallic mark cover. Dark grey and black swirls shone a muted rainbow pattern where the light caught it at the right angle. She picked that one up. The plain paper was creamy white. She couldn't believe her luck. Just above it, hanging like a fishing lure, was a set of drafting pencils, 5 in 3 different degrees of hard tip. She picked that up as well. Then, just to be sure, she chose a packet of ballpoint pens, the better quality ones, but still cheap in a neighbourhood drugstore. Better than the almost used-up ones Ben had been given. She looked around for something for the crew, but couldn't quite settle on anything. She'd find them something before her community service was done. Something for each of them. She asked for some gift wrapping and picked up a nice fabric bag. Back at the kitchen, she handed the bag full of goodies to Pierre-Luc, suddenly shy of giving it directly to Ben. Pierre looked at her, one eyebrow raised, but said nothing and put the present under his desk. Rachel helped Pauline make a quick batch of sucre à la crème à la rèbre, maple sugar fondant cubes, and get a new batch of pudding chômeur in the oven. And while the newcomers, a long-time couple that lived nearby and volunteers, took out the next ready turkey and carved in advance. It wasn't long before they were at their stations again, a couple more people coming in to replace Eric and Armand, plus Pierre's son Marc-Antoine. Therese would be back during peak hours, then leave again. At 8, Rachel's cousin Felix came to pick her up. Ben had not shown up again. "You get tomorrow off," Pierre-Luc reminded her. Not going to finish out the chapter because I've just spotted that we've only got 15 minutes left. So if we want to get any of Shell's Christmas fic in, I'm going to need to stop. So do treat yourself to, whilst not the light, sort of fluffy romantic read that we're used to. Honestly, treat yourself. Really do. It's an incredible, incredible read. It's the only paper allowed in my office. I keep my office paperless. So it's the only paper that's allowed in there. So, yeah, genuinely do treat yourself to it. I think it would be a good kind of, if you've got a bit of time on New Year's Day, it's a good way to start a year, to sit down and kind of remember that journeys branch and that there are often different ways to be, which, yeah, genuinely, I'm really glad to hear that you bought it, but do treat yourself to sitting down and taking the time to read a book that, yeah, it will knock your socks off. It stays in your head and it never goes away, and it's haunting and it's beautiful. Right, so our last story of the evening, and here is a link to the collection that it is in, back to our scheduled floof. I'm terrified to open my Discord and see how mad Aaveena is at me for butchering my French. I can't help it, I only speak Parisian French. So yeah, closing out on The Beginning of Something Wonderful by Shel McCabe. I'm glad, as you're saying no, so I'm hoping that it's not as incomprehensible as it was the first time I read. So I have genuinely been working on it. Miss McIntosh, or Addie to her friends, has a good life. She loves her third graders and her co-workers, but there's still a loneliness she can't quite fill. Then there's Miles Buchanan. Addie had met him through years at the teachers' gatherings, both mandatory and volunteer, but when they get to participate in a team building involving paint, something happens beyond making a mess. And when he shows up like a knight in shining armour to don the red velvet suit, it gives Addie a glimmer of hope. Will this be the Christmas that she gets what she's always wanted? Someone to love. Will this be the beginning of something wonderful? My brother Miles is coming to pick up the twins today, Kay says as she hangs up and helps her twins Juliana and Jonathan off with their coats. He's on the pickup list, right? Their second grade teacher, Miss Addie McIntosh, says. Oh, yes. They have a doctor's appointment at 2, and so do I. Dean's out of town while the grounds have things to do. I asked Uncle Miles, and he said yes, Juliana offers. Most would expect her to be the calm one, but it's actually her brother Jonathan. It took 2 days for Addie to figure out why she takes dance and plays soccer, while Jonathan is happy with a book. Well, good. Go and get your homework. There's lots to do today. Mistletoe market! The children who slowly gathered around their favourite teacher cheer. It's the first week of December, and they need to finish the stuff off for their table. Each year the school raises money for a chosen charity. Each class makes a craft to sell. Then there are books with games in the gymnasium for the families and the community. The best part? A visit from the jolly man in a red suit with his wife. This year they're raising money for the local food bank by taking money and non-perishable donations. Yes, but first, math. She has to chuckle as the collective moan fills the room. The classroom phone buzzes and every kid in the room looks up like it's for them. Get back to work, she says as she walks across the room. Room 110. Miles Buchanan's here for Juliana and Jonathan. Miss Corbin, the school secretary, pauses. He is coming to the room. Thank you, Mrs. Corbin, Addie answers. Thank you. The twins are signed out. He just needs to get them from you. All right, bye. No sooner than she hangs up the phone, she sees a shadow through the window in her door. She still waits for the knock before she opens the door. Her greeting freezes in her throat. It's you. It's you, he echoes. I never connected that you're their uncle, she says, clearly surprised. Did you ever get the paint off? He teases. By now all of her third graders are looking at them like she grew another head, and Miles, or Mr. Buchanan as his students call him, 4 more limbs. Do you remember me telling you about the teacher training I had to do the other day when you didn't have school? She doesn't wait for the peanut gallery to respond. That silly art thing we did. I was partners with Mr. Buchanan. Uncle Miles was your partner? Juliana asks. He was. But he's not a teacher at this school, Darcy, one of the other students, asks. No, you may give me when you get into high school, he answers. I hate to run, but their doctor's on the other side of town. Go, their homework's in their bags. Bye, Miss McIntosh, the twins say together like they always do. Bye, you two. Her eyes meet Miles, and for a moment he looks like he wants to say something, but instead he nods and follows his niece and nephew out, closing the door behind them. Addie lets herself linger at the narrow window of the heavy steel door as she watches Miles follow the twins down the hall. Something that feels a little like she did the other day stirs in her soul. He's a handsome man, anyone would think so, with his thick inky waves and whisky eyes that would make a woman do strange things just to get his approval. She shakes her head as if she could shake the thoughts from her mind. A sudden crashing of what could only be a pencil box falls to the floor behind her. A deep breath as she reminds herself that she does not have the time for a headache today. She turns around to face her room full of 8 and 9-year-olds. All right, don't forget, bake sale items need to be brought in with you tomorrow, Addie calls out. The last bell is ready to ring, and while she does her usual dismissing tables to get their things, there's an underlying thread of excitement. Tomorrow is the last day of school before the winter holiday break, while the students think it will be a regular day in the mistletoe market. But they don't realise all the fun things she has planned along the way, even if she's already tired from just thinking about it. And any craft you've made and would like to donate, remember we're raising money for the food bank this year. And food. You don't have to bring money to buy tickets. Bring non-perishable food items to buy your tickets to play the games. For the craft stuff our families have made, those you will need money for. She waits for a moment while they line up at the door. I gave you each a handout to give to your parents. It explains all of this in greater detail. Finally, when all 24 sets of eyes are on her, she continues. I hope you all have a good evening and read your book, please. Then on cue, the bell rings. Like a machine that still needs some oil, loud and all over her place, her class files out. More than half head into the side door that takes them out to the buses, while the rest go towards the other door that leads in. Jonathan, what's wrong? Uncle Miles is coming to pick us up again, Jonathan volunteers. He said to wait with you. Is that all right? Yeah, that's fine. Usually the late pick-up kids go out to the playground, but since their uncle's a fellow teacher, she doesn't think too much of it. She just chooses to ignore the way her heart speeds up when she thinks of those amber eyes of his meeting hers. We can still go outside and play. We should be able to see him when he pulls up. She doesn't even finish her sentence when Jonathan grabs one hand and Juliana takes her other, and in moments they are out the back door and onto the playground. What are you still doing here? What are you still doing here? Amy, one of the after-school program aides, asked. It's one of those mild winter days in North Carolina, mild enough for all you need's a jacket. You know, her chuckle is a mix between tired and tired. I'm not sure. Before she can elaborate, a black truck pulls to the stop right outside the fence. Is that why? Amy giggles. It might be, Addie whispers. Miles Buchanan, the guy she can't stop dreaming about. And wonderful uncle climbs out of the vehicle, blue jeans, a button-up shirt with the top button undone. But the tie he probably tied perfectly this morning hangs loose, as if his day was as crazy as hers. Her mouth goes dry at the idea of being able to pull him in for a kiss. By that very tie, their lips meet as he claims them for her own, and... Abby, Miss McIntosh? Miles, she blinks from her dream comes into focus. You know, I can't do this every day. No, I'm sorry for the short notice. Thank you for hanging out with him. He had a last-minute doctor's appointment. Mom and Dad are both out of town, and Dean doesn't have any family close. Oh, no, is she all right? This is the second one in less than a month. Suddenly, worry makes her nervous for her sister. Better than all right, he teases, but it's her news, so I'll let her share. By now, the twins have seen their favourite uncle on the playground as they tackle him. Go get your stuff, he softly commands before they run back down to the fence they laid their backpacks down at. Thank you again. You're welcome. Remind your sister there's a flyer about the mistletoe market tomorrow. This year, instead of money, we're doing games for the food pantry. I just changed her accent halfway through the story. Oh my god. That's actually a good idea. His words shouldn't do anything to her, much less make her feel all warm and gooey inside. But how could she explain to him that she suggested it? Because she knows what it's like to get home and not have anything but the lemon juice your foster parent uses in their mixed drinks in the refrigerator. Thankfully, the social worker arrived with the police to take her that evening. Well, many are having a hard time. If we can help give a family another chance, then we should do everything we can to help. Uncle Miles, did you tell Miss McIntosh you're coming to the market tomorrow? Juliana tugs on her uncle's hand. You mean you didn't? Juliana shakes her head at him like a niece who's had enough of her uncle's antics to last a lifetime. Miss McIntosh, my Uncle Miles will be here tomorrow for the fair. Well, good, she answers, stupidly excited she gets to see him 2 days in a row. Non-perishable food, please. We'll go to the store now, he says as he gives her one of his grins that steals the air out of the room she's in. She manages a smile before the twins pull him along after them towards his car. Her heart does a little flip when he looks over his shoulder at her. Their eyes meet and he hesitates for a moment. She thinks he's coming back, but one of the twins says something, and he continues to follow. There's always tomorrow, Amy mutters behind her. What? Addie whispers. He likes you. That's why he comes to get the kids. That's his excuse to be here. Amy bumps her shoulder. Nah, that's silly. Even as she breathes the words, her heart does that funny flip again. Could it be true? Miles Buchanan, English teacher extraordinaire, wants to see her? Dun dun dun. So, I'm going to call it there. So that is from the Mistletoe Market's Market Romance Collection. Romance Cafe Collection, Book 27. It's a nice treat. It's kind of nice little bite-sized stories. It's good for picking up. It's actually on Kindle Unlimited deal at the moment as well. So you can either buy it for $3.02 or you can grab it on Kindle Unlimited. And it will allow you to read all the sweet little stories for free. So yeah, go and pick that up and find out if Addie and Miles ever get together, and if it's easier to follow the plot if I don't change the lead character's accent halfway through. So yeah, thank you very much for coming along this evening. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. You might see some on the YouTube channel. If you follow the YouTube channel, you might see some standalone stories coming along through into the new year, because there were some Christmas stories that didn't quite make the cut-off, and they might be in different fandoms and things as well. So fingers crossed, and assuming I have time. But this is actually, we have our Christmas dinner down here in the schoolroom where my office is. So you can see the tables set up for the vast amount of people that are going to be in my house. So I will get this uploaded as quickly as I can. Thank you so much for coming along. It's been a riot.